Hello, John Harper here. I want to take some time and talk a little bit more about the orientation of the MeToo men's group inquiry that I'm going to be facilitating with 4 other Diamond Approach teachers. For those not familiar with the Diamond Approach, we work in 3 different venues. Private one-on-one sessions with a teacher, a small group setting where there are maybe 10 to 20 students and 1 teacher, and a large group format that could be 100 to 200 people in a group. And there's various reasons about why we do this, and you can check that out more on diamondapproach.org. You know, I bring that up because after about 15 years in the work, my small group teacher raised the question, why doesn't anybody ever bring sex up in this group? And everybody kind of went, well, And it's a valid question, given that sex is so central to human existence. And in our culture, sex is used to sell and promote everything. It's a standard that a lot of people are gauged by. Self-esteem is based upon it a lot. And on the other hand, we live in a culture that has a lot of puritanical influence, and you're not supposed to be sexual at all. It's a sin and this, that, and the other. So we have 2 huge forces in conflict in the social setting that we're raised in. And the Me Too movement helped to kind of bring that to light for me. And it had me revisiting things in my past that are full of shame and humiliation, and I just soon forget about and not revisit. And I thought, well, it'd be a good time to start looking at some of that stuff. And the other thing was about 5 years later, the same teacher, same small group, brought up the question, I'm interested in what it is that you don't bring up in this group. And took me about 8 nanoseconds to say my hatred for you, and off we were to the races exploring that. And what I have found really remarkable and amazing over the years in the Diamond Approach is that this process of inquiry that we do is amazing once we start it. As we're holding on to things and holding down things and afraid to bring up things, we just stay bound up and conflicted about things. And the moment we open up and let the dynamism move, miraculous things happen. So that's part of the motivation behind this group, this men's inquiry group around Me Too. It's not necessarily a format for everybody to drag out their deepest, darkest secrets and reveal them to everyone. It's really looking at what is it that's binding us up. And the Me Too movement is a great place to start, because what's being brought up is triggering a lot of things for all kinds of people from all kinds of different perspectives. So what the group is about is, what do I see that's in my past that may be embarrassing, maybe humiliating, maybe full of shame, maybe full of judgment from who knows where, and I'm bound up about it because I have some kind of conflict or fear. And so what can we do to open that up some and allow that process to take place? I had an experience that just a couple years ago that came out of this Me Too movement, where I had a particular thing that I didn't want to bring up for years. I mean, I was in the work over 25 years at that time, and I don't think I'd ever brought it up with my teacher. And I brought it up with a friend of mine in the work and talked about it, and I thought, you know, I need to work on this. But I still didn't want to work on it with my teacher. So I thought, well, who can I work on this with? And I remembered a person, and I reached out to them, and it never worked out to work with that person. But once I started that process of talking to my fellow student and good friend about it, where I felt safety and confidentiality would be maintained. And then I thought about reaching out to someone beyond him, someone I trusted. And then it was like, well, if I can do that, I can do it with my teacher. And so that whole thing opened up. And once again, yeah, it's like, why am I spending so many years bound up around some of this stuff? So that's where I'm coming from, and that's part of the orientation of this men's group. What are you bound up around? Especially, we're looking at MeToo, sex, relationships between people, same sex, different sex, all sexes. Because it's a huge, conflicted area of human interaction. And we want to be free of all of that conflict and fluid in our capacities in the world. I'm going to be doing another video in a few days with a different perspective on all this, or an additional perspective. So stay tuned.